The iPhone 11 was a very interesting release back in 2019. It was initially believed to be the successor to the iPhone XS, but in reality, it was an upgraded version of the beloved iPhone XR. And that's because this is the year that Apple would introduce the first Pro line with the iPhone 11 Pro and Pro Max. And even though the Pro models were better in nearly every aspect, the base model iPhone 11 would become the best-selling phone in the world in 2020, outselling second place by more than 3 times. So yes, a ton of people bought and still own the iPhone 11, but we're now in 2022. Does it still make sense to consider an iPhone 11 over something like the iPhone XR, iPhone 12, or iPhone 13? Let's discuss. So let's first talk about pricing. The iPhone 11 is currently the oldest phone you can buy new from Apple, and it starts at $499 for a 64GB model and also comes in $128 for $549. And if you want to buy new, I would not even consider the 64GB, even if you don't think that you're going to use all of that storage. Just get the 128GB and call it a day. Now, if you want an even better deal, you should look at used ones on eBay or refurbished ones on Amazon. This is my personal preferred method when buying older phones. You just have to know what to look for. And luckily for you guys, I did make a full video outlining exactly how to pick out a used iPhone on eBay and avoid scams. But you can see here on eBay, they're going for around $300 to $400 for the 128GB model. So that's $150 savings by going used. And if you pick the right one in mint condition and with the original box, it's going to be barely any different from buying a new one. And also, I should mention that on Amazon, you could also get a refurbished iPhone 11 for about $440. Now, if you guys remember back in 2019 when we saw the iPhone 11 for the very first time, if it wasn't for the additional camera lens, people would have thought that this was just an iPhone XR in new colors. And that's because it practically is. I mean, we have the same 6.1-inch liquid Retina display with the same size notch. Both are made of glass with aluminum edges and both come in several colors. But if you look a little bit closer, there are some design differences that were first introduced by Apple with the iPhone 11, like the Apple logo being moved down on the body a little bit further, and also the iPhone text has been removed for a much cleaner look overall on the back. We also have this little housing around the camera to make everything look a little bit more uniform. And as you can see, I got the purple iPhone 11, which is my personal favorite color of these 6 different color options you have to choose from. And now that I think about it, I never actually used a case on this phone because I just love this color so much. It's one of my favorite colors of all time of any iPhone. So I love this color and I never used the case. Even, before making this video, when I used it here in 2022 as my daily driver, I didn't even use a case or a screen protector, which is crazy and very unlike me. But I think it's because I already had some scratches. As you can see on the front here, I do have some micro scratches all over the front on the screen. The back, not so much, really nothing to show for it on the back except for a ton of fingerprints. It is a massive fingerprint magnet, but yeah, a lot of scratches on the screen. So if you were going to choose between a case and a screen protector, I would definitely go for the screen protector over the case, but of course both are usually recommended. And another reason you may want to put a case and screen protector on this phone is because the iPhone 11 does not have Apple's ceramic shield. So the glass is not going to be as scratch or drop resistant as the iPhone 12 or iPhone 13. But underneath that glass is the LCD display, or liquid retina display, as Apple calls it. We have a resolution of 1792 by 828 at 326 pixels per inch, along with True Tone, the P3 wide color gamut, a 1400:1 contrast ratio, and a peak brightness of 625 nits. And if all of those specs sound familiar, it's because they are. It's the exact same display as found in the iPhone XR. And as I said in my iPhone XR in 2022 video, watching movies, playing games, browsing the web, everything is perfectly fine on the iPhone 11 with this display. Now, of course, the display is not going to be as crisp and as good as an OLED panel, especially when in dark mode or looking at dark scenes and movies, but for 90% of people, you will have absolutely no complaints with the display, even in 2022. I will say that after going from my iPhone 13 Pro back down to the iPhone 11, I did notice a difference pretty much right away, but after about a day or two, and when I just stopped thinking about how it compares to an OLED display, I really stopped noticing the differences and found myself just enjoying whatever I was watching or doing. So again, This is the best LCD display on the market, and you will be pleased with it, especially for the price tag you can get the iPhone 11 for now. I think the key is to just stop thinking about comparing it to other displays and thinking it's going to be as good as X, Y, and Z. And speaking of displays and designs, today's sponsor Skillshare can help you learn a lot about that and basically anything else you ever wanted to learn. So Skillshare is an online learning community for anybody who wants to learn how to do something or just perfect what they already know. With thousands of classes in iOS app development, 3D modeling, web development, design, and much more, you are bound to find classes that you will genuinely be interested in and learn a ton from. People have always asked me how I learn how to do certain things, and I always tell them that I'm self-taught, which is partly true, but I also learn a ton from sites like Skillshare. If you ever wanted to develop a new skill just for fun or to help you make money, or just to perfect the skills that you already have, there's never been a better time to invest in yourself. And a premium membership is definitely the way to go. I'm currently taking this Blender class to learn how to make 2D and 3D renders for iPhones, Macs, and just anything else I'd want to create for videos in the future, and it's awesome. I'm learning a ton from it. And I'm also learning about interior design from this class on Skillshare since I'm moving soon and I want to make sure that I make the new place look as good as possible. So if you have a specific skill you're trying to learn, Skillshare is the perfect place to start, and you can do so today. The first 1,000 people who click on the link in the description get your first month completely free. Thanks again to Skillshare for sponsoring this segment of the video. Let's go ahead and get right back into it. Now, when it comes to battery life, you can see I still have 100% battery capacity, which is crazy and really impressive, even though I don't use this as my daily phone anymore. You know, nowadays I only use it for beta testing and in comparison videos, so not really heavy use. But the iPhone 11 still gets terrific battery life, even if you did use it all day, every day here in 2022. And actually, in my last battery drain test video, the iPhone 11 got 4th place, only behind the iPhone 12 series. It got about 8 hours of on-screen time, which is very solid, especially given the price that you can get these at now. And part of the reason the battery life is so good in the iPhone 11 is because of the A13 Bionic chip inside. So when it was first announced, Apple claimed that this is the most power efficient chip it had ever made by 40%. So clearly, one of Apple's main focal points with this phone was battery life. But this A13 Bionic chip also proved to be an absolute beast when it came to performance, just overall, just in general, especially when gaming and doing anything intensive. And here in 2022, everything still works perfectly fine, and the performance is pretty much just as good and as impressive as it was on day one. Now, again, I don't do anything too strenuous on the iPhone 11, but I do use it pretty much every day in my testing over the past 2 weeks or so. And I've been doing a lot of social media browsing, web browsing, texting, listening to music, some light gaming. I'll do very light gaming on things like, you know, Subway Surfers and sometimes some PUBG, but everything runs fine. I've had absolutely no issues with performance, which kind of surprised me because I did have quite a few issues with the iPhone XR, but really nothing with the iPhone 11, which really speaks volumes about that A13 Bionic. However, not everything is sunshine and rainbows with the iPhone 11. There are two pretty big gripes that I have with this phone. And number one is the Intel modem inside. And this isn't to say that the LTE connectivity on this phone is bad, but the Intel modems are just simply not as good as the Qualcomm modems. I think everybody knows that. And we see the Qualcomm modems, of course, in the iPhone 12 and 13, but not in the iPhone 11. Making phone calls is fine, 90% of the time, and that's not where my big issue lies. It's mainly an issue when web browsing and using the LTE data. So going from the iPhone 13 back to the iPhone 11, I noticed that there are many more instances of web pages just slowly loading or just not loading at all in certain areas that I have no issues in with the newer phones. So, on that same subject, we also don't have 5G. And that is a big reason why this phone is reasonably priced here in 2022. But still, I found myself missing 5G connectivity really a lot more than I thought I would. And that's because I can actually get signal in places that others around me cannot, because they only have LTE and not 5G like me when I have my iPhone 13. And I'm not even going to mention the faster speeds of 5G because it's really not going to be a huge difference unless you live in a major city. But the extended coverage, the extended LTE coverage is a big selling point for the newer phones like the iPhone 12 and 13. And honestly, it's kind of a con for the iPhone 11. If you're looking to future-proof your phone, you need 5G. Now, with that being said, I don't think this is a deal breaker for this phone, especially if you don't deal with weak connectivity very often, but it is something that prevents this from being the best phone to buy in 2022, in my opinion. And then last but not least, we have to talk about the camera, because this is perhaps the #1 reason I think the iPhone 11 is even in consideration for the best phone to buy in 2022. So we have a dual 12 megapixel camera setup, one wide and one ultra wide lens. And this was the phone that Apple first introduced night mode and deep fusion on, which are still to this day two of Apple's best selling points with their cameras on their iPhones. And you get both of those on a sub $500 phone, which is just an insane value. You also get Smart HDR2, which is a solid improvement over the original Smart HDR tech in the iPhone XS and XR. You get OIS, a 2x optical zoom with digital zoom up to 5x, True Tone, and portrait mode for both people and objects. The front-facing camera is also pretty solid if you take selfies, and definitely a big improvement over the iPhone XS and XR and anything earlier, since it has a 12 megapixel lens compared to the 7 megapixel lens along with Smart HDR2. And for video on the front and back, you could shoot up to 4K 60 FPS. And then on the rear facing cameras, you also have the audio zoom feature, which focuses the sound on whatever subject you're zooming in on. You also get quick take video, which is a little nice convenience feature. If you are on the photo right here and then you hold and swipe over, you could start recording a video just like that. So not a huge deal, but it is a nice convenience feature. Also, being able to tap the 1x to zoom out to 0.5x is so useful, and you really don't compromise much on the quality or the depth of field. Some scenes look a little bit warped, but it is great for capturing action scenes or really just something with a lot going on around you. And as far as portrait mode goes, portrait mode is fine. I found that I don't really use it too often on really any phone anymore, so that's not a big focal point for me. Night mode is awesome and also much needed, since low light shots really aren't the greatest on the iPhone 11, so I find myself using and really having to use night mode quite a bit, so it's nice to have that. And just overall, I really have nothing at all to complain about with the iPhone 11. I love the camera, and I think it's hands down the best camera you can get on a phone under $500 in 2022. And honestly, I don't even think it's that close. I think this is definitely the phone to get if you're trying to spend under $500 here in 2022 and you want the best camera quality and video quality possible. Now, with all of that being said, should you buy the iPhone 11 in 2022? Is it the best value iPhone that you can get right now? And I say yes and no. So let's first make something very clear. Yes, you should absolutely consider the iPhone 11 in 2022. If it's not the best iPhone to buy this year, it's in the top 2 or 3 in my opinion. I think you should strongly consider buying one if you want the best performance and camera quality you can get for a phone under $500. It's also going to be the longest lasting phone you will find in this price range in terms of software support. So I bet this phone is going to be supported with the latest software for literally probably at least 4 or 5 more years, at least. But again, my only gripe with this phone is the lack of 5G and Qualcomm modems. But if you don't care as much about that, or if you never really have connectivity issues, then the iPhone 11 is a no-brainer to buy here in 2022 if you have an iPhone XR or older. But if you need 5G or struggle with connectivity on your 4G phone, I would recommend the iPhone 13 over the iPhone 12, and I'll discuss why in a future video, but I think the iPhone 11 and the iPhone 13 are the 2 best iPhones to buy here in 2022 with price considered. Now, what about if you currently have the iPhone 11? Should you hold on to it, or should you try selling it now while you can get the most money out of it? And I say you should definitely hold on to it at least until the end of this year, until we see what the iPhone 14 brings, and once we see discounts on the iPhone 13 and iPhone 12. I think that the lack of 5G is definitely something that holds this phone back as far as future proofing goes. If you're looking to buy a phone and hold it for 4 or 5 years, you definitely want something with 5G. So you definitely want an iPhone 12 or 13. But again, I would wait until later this year until we see the new iPhone and prices drop for the iPhone 13 and iPhone 12. But again, if you have the iPhone 11 and you may not have the funds to upgrade in the future, there's really no issue with the iPhone 11 whatsoever. You're going to have software support for at least another 4 to 5 years, and everything's going to be running just fine on this phone. But anyways, guys, there you have it. That is my review on the iPhone 11 here in 2022. So let me know what you guys think about this down in the comments below. Let me know if you have the iPhone 11 now, if you're looking to buy one. Let me know all your thoughts down there. If you agree, disagree, anything. I love reading your comments. And if you enjoyed this video, I would really appreciate if you give it a thumbs up. And of course, make sure to subscribe for a lot more iPhone coverage. But anyways, guys, thanks again for watching, and I'll see you soon.